All right, we're going to talk about Blessed Charles. I've gained a great devotion for him in the last 2 years, um, partly because I'm a father of many children, as he was. And then also, I'm just realizing that the collapse of Christian society has gone with the collapse of Catholic monarchy. And it's remarkable that this great emperor represented all that was, I think I can say this, all that was good and wholesome about Catholic Europe and what the Catholic monarchies should have always been. I think it's just God put a cherry on top of all of this by giving us Blessed Karl, or as you say, Blessed Charles. Now,
Yeah.
I want to ask you. This is the question that I've been burning to ask you for a long time. They went to he ended in a Portuguese territory, correct?
Yes.
That's where he died. So I
Yes.
want to ask you a Fatima question.
Okay.
You know, the apocryphal intro to the third secret is that something about the faith always in Portugal, right? And
Mm.
also the idea that you find this in the early church fathers, you find it in St. John Chrysostom, that the restraining force of Second Thessalonians, the katakon in the Greek,
Yeah.
that's the Roman Empire. And then it gets spiritualized into, perhaps we could say the Greek Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. There's always this imperial coupling with the papacy as the Roman Empire gets spiritualized and sanctified. And Blessed Karl's the end of that train. He's the caboose. So is
Thus
this,
far.
well, so far, yes. Um, so when we read in Scripture, and if we do identify it as the Roman Empire, the imperial office, I mean, people don't know this, but in the Roman canon, in the Latin Mass, at the Te Igitur, it used to be in Rome, they would say the name of the Pope, and well, the local diocesan bishop in Rome, that was the Pope. But they'd also pray for the imperator in the canon.
That's correct.
In the
And
canon. So this is a very important office that he holds. Do you think that there's sort of a conjunction with Our Lady of Fatima's apparition in 1917, and then soon after the errors of Russia, and then the downfall of Blessed Karl and the Habsburg family? Is this prophetic and leading to the nonsense that we see in the 1900s?
well, I would say so. I mean, obviously, I'm not the best interpreter of prophecy, but having said that, you have three things happening at the same time. You have Fatima. You have, as you say, the overthrow of Emperor Karl and his going into exile. You also have, in the same year as Fatima, the overthrow of the Russian emperors, who in their way claimed to be the continuers of Byzantium, the other
Right.
expression, if
Yeah.
you will.
Third Rome. Yeah.
The Third Rome, and they both used the double eagle,
Mm-hmm.
which was the symbol of the later Roman Empire. The eagle looks east and west.
Yeah.
That it certainly does have a very prophetic feeling to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that what replaced both of them was horror,
Mm-hmm.
utter and complete horror, and the fact that it's one thing when you overthrow a regime and you replace it with something else. It can be unfortunate to say the least, but that's something. What it's replaced with is something so evil,
Mm-hmm.
as both the communists and the Nazis, and then the communists replacing the Nazis, or in most of the former Austrian territories. And then, if you might say, the third wave of Marxism, what we're seeing really today, infanticide everywhere, the collapse of gender identity. It again, I'm not an apocalypticist by nature.
Yes.
But even if these are not the last days, it's certainly in the end of an era, to be replaced with we know not what. Now, it's not the end of time. Remember, at Fatima, Our Lady said eventually Russia will be converted. Our Immaculate Triumph, there'll be a period of peace. No mention of the end of the world there.
Right.
So it may be that what we're seeing is the end of the post-Reformation civilization. Who knows?
Right.
One of the things you find with prophecy, and this is certainly true with Fatima, is that they tend to make sense after they've been accomplished.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we look at all the prophecies of the Old Covenant and we're like, well, how come they didn't know Christ, the Messiah, would be the Son of God and rise on the third day? Seems obvious.
Because we're living afterwards.
Yes.
You always have to bear in mind that prophecy is not given us, frankly, to act like a stock report or a racing form.
Right.
That's not the point. What it tells us, not unlike Eucharistic miracles, frankly, is that God is in charge. He does know what's happening. Everything that we will encounter, however terrible it may be for us personally, is not outside God's plan or God's understanding. And there again, Karl and Zita are great examples because they literally had everything taken from them. Everything. They went from a life of privilege, the like of which most of us will never know, to a life of privation, the like of which most of us will never know. He was, I could say without reservation, despite the fact that he was only effectively reigning for 2 years, he was, to my way of thinking, without a doubt, the greatest ruler the 20th century produced. Better than any of them. Better than Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
Better than FDR. I can't think of anyone who comes close in excellence to Blessed Emperor Karl. And, having spent the majority of my life in that bloodiest century, it almost redeems it that such a man lived in it.
I just basically call him a saint. I'm not. Why wait?
Santo subito.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, people like, they try to canonize people like Paul VI, who has no cultus, no devotion. Have you ever met anyone who has a holy card of Paul VI or a shrine? No. But all over the world, there is an enormous cultus for Blessed Charles of Austria.
It's true. And, there is one other point I should make about him before I forget, and it's kind of funny. Do you realize that in beatifying him, John Paul II created his own name patron?
Oh, because his name is Karl.
He was named after him. He was named after the emperor by his father.
Was Karol Wojtyła named after Karl of Austria?
He sure was.
Ah.